for joining me today for our latest Tips and Tricks webinar. We're going to spend a little bit of time today talking about the reputation-enabled defense setting within the WatchGuard firewall. The reputation-enabled defense is a reputation-based system that basically gives a score to an IP address or a website that allows us to grade it, you might say, based on whether other people have found issues and problems with that website, and lets us, as we move along, you'll see how it can save some cycles on your firebox. It lets you avoid some unnecessary scanning, if you will. So let me get out of our title page here, and we're not going to do any death by PowerPoint today. So first of all, let's jump into our firewall. This is the main configuration. The reputation-enabled defense is something that is active inside of our proxies. Inside of the HTTP proxy is where we'll see most of the use for this, this part of our subscription services. So let me jump in here. This is my main outbound web surfing rule that I have set up on my network. You'll see I've tied it into Active Directory, as we've talked about in the past on some of these. We've allowing my domain users, my domain admins out to the internet. Now, as I jump in here, there's two ways you can get to the reputation-enabled defense. We can look at your proxy properties, and once we get in here in your tree to the left, you will have a reputation-enabled defense entry right here. You can also get into this if you want to edit this without drilling into every single rule. Under subscription services, you have your reputation-enabled defense, and then this will show you what you, which rules have the reputation-enabled defense. You'll notice my second rule here is grayed out. That rule is actually disabled right now, so if I were to get in here and make changes, it's not going to do much of anything. Now, the other thing I want to point out to you is there is a checkbox down here that says send encrypted scan results to WatchGuard servers to improve overall coverage and accuracy. Reputation-enabled defense does rely on the WatchGuard firewalls that are out in the world to pull in information and report back the results of their scanning. So if you've never had reputation-enabled defense turned on, the first time you turn it on and enable this checkbox, you are going to get a message popping up that says, would you like to send results back to WatchGuard? Basically what this is doing, this isn't sending back any kind of identifiable information to WatchGuard. Basically what it's sending back to us is, hey, we scanned this website and it came back clean, or we scanned this website and it came back when we caught a virus on it as we went through. So with that said, let's jump in and start looking at the configuration on this. Same thing that I did is getting into my other proxy rule. I get that same screen here. This one's just a little bit smaller to look at. So let's back up here, go in. This is how most people will get there. So I am a creature of habit, so I'll get in this way. So reputation-enabled defense. We have two possible settings with this. Inside of here, we have, first of all, our checkbox that says immediately block URLs that have a bad reputation. And then the second checkbox is bypass any configured virus scanning for URLs that have a good reputation. When we look at our advanced button in here, you'll notice we have a bad reputation threshold of 80 and 20 on my good side. I've changed those. Go back to my defaults. My default reputation scores on the good and bad side are 90 and 10. Now I know I promised no death by PowerPoint, but I do want to just throw up one slide out here. So all of these websites go out to our reputation authority database, and they're scored based on that. Every time something gets a good scan and has positive results sent back to WatchGuard, it pushes them lower to the good reputation side, towards a rating of 1. By default, everybody starts out at 50. If a website is not in the database, it's going to have a neutral score of 50. As results are returned and more bad results are sent back to the WatchGuard database, that reputation score will get higher and higher until we get to, by default, if we get to 90, our 90 threshold, we're saying we don't want that traffic anymore. We're going to block it before we ever have to do any kind of scanning. On the same token, if we know everybody else in the world has already scanned a website, we've been hitting it all the time. CNN, for example, CNN.com is always a great example. It's something that people are hitting all the time. WatchGuard users are hitting all over the world. We return a lot of good scan results. So that reputation score gets pushed lower and lower until it gets under that default of 10. And at that point, if we come back to our configuration here, we'll get the PowerPoint out of the way. Our good reputation threshold is 10. So what we have done at this point, by the way we've turned this on, is bypassing configured virus scanning for URLs. When somebody hits that website of CNN.com or Google.com, some of the big ones out there, MSN, what have you, we know everybody else has already scanned it, so why bother scanning it ourselves? This is going to save a lot of cycles on your box. The AV scanning is the most processor-intensive process that we can run. So we are, anytime we can skip that scanning because, hey, everybody else already scanned it, why not? Let's make sure we don't have, at this point, we're making sure that we're not wasting cycles that we don't need to. Our box can dedicate itself to other things. Now, I do want to throw a caveat in here on the good reputation threshold. This reputation threshold will bypass all of your virus scanning. If you have a firewall where you have also purchased the APT blocker, our advanced persistent threat. Now, the APT blocker is looking at zero-day malware, stuff that there is no virus definition for. It's something that's brand new out in the wild. And we look at the behaviors of a file as it comes in. We recognize, hey, that's a unique file. We've never seen it before. We send it off to our partner Lastline to analyze the behaviors of that file. And so we can identify if that file might have malicious behavior in it. Well, if you've got APT blocker turned on and your reputation-enabled defense, if you are bypassing any kind of virus scanning for good URLs, you are also bypassing the AV scanning for that APT blocker. So we used to teach as sales engineers all the time that this was a no-brainer. You turn this on, that you want to save the cycles on your box based on we're letting everybody else in the world do our scanning for us. Well, if you've added APT blocker down here and turned that on, this is the new checkbox that we no longer want to turn on because we don't want to bypass that APT blocker if there's something new out there in the world. That's why when you saw my defaults on my firewall, I am running without this box checked. I would rather take the extra hit, do the extra virus scanning, because I want to make sure that the APT blocker is catching those zero-day threats that we don't have a virus definition for yet. Now, immediately blocking URLs that have a good reputation, that's pretty straightforward. If we know and somebody else has already scanned it, reputation-enabled defense is one of the first checks that our firewall will do as our traffic goes out to the world and tries to come back into the clients. So if we can check it by the reputation, we don't have to worry about running the AV scan on our box as well. We know somebody else has already found a virus there. We don't want to mess with that. So getting the status, there's not a whole lot of configuration to these. They're just, it's turned on. Of course, you always want to log everything because you are, hopefully most of you are running our new Dimension logging and reporting tool. And to get the information in Dimension, you have to make sure logging is turned on. The alarm will also tie into whatever logging and reporting tool you're using, but the alarm will actually send an email out to you if something has been blocked. This is one of those probably unnecessary things. Unless you want to get a lot of email about a lot of different websites that have been blocked, you can leave that one unchecked. So let's take a look about how we monitor this. There's not a whole lot of configuration, like I said. So getting in here, in our Firebox System Manager, the first thing you can look at is under your Subscription Services tab. This is going to give you the details on the latest virus definitions for those systems that need virus updates or definition updates, activity on your spam blocker. There's also a section in here for reputation-enabled defense. You'll notice my local bypass is set, the good bypass, the stuff that we skip scanning because everybody else already says it's good. Mine is sitting here at 0%. That's because I have bypassed the virus. I'm not checking this box because I have the APT blocker running. I don't want to bypass that scanning. So on the other side, URLs blocked. I've blocked 9 different URLs due to reputation. This firewall has been up and running for quite some time. I haven't rebooted it for a little while. So normal inconclusive scores, 71% of stuff that it hasn't been able to say, yes, that's good or bad, so it processed those as normal. I've done close to 2 million lookups in the time this firewall has been up and running. So let's look at some web traffic and what happens as we hit different websites and how we can actually see what the reputation is doing. So let's jump to our traffic monitor. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sort in here just based on reputation. And as we look in here, this is, and I know this is a somewhat small screen for you guys to see, but as we look over here to the right, we're going to start seeing in our different lines, we're going to see reputation out here on the end. So this is a website that got a score of 1. It's a known good. We don't need to AV scan it. In my case, I still am because I haven't turned that feature on. But it's a website that we've done that. So let's just hit a couple of websites, and we can actually monitor and look at traffic here. So as I hit IBM.com, for example, and I only choose IBM because it's only 3 letters, and it's very easy for me to type in. As I look at this, these different requests that are going out, and I'm going to pause this so it doesn't keep scrolling by on me. So I'm going out through my main domain rule. It's going through my proxy. And we see the request, all of the different components, the different pieces of that web page. So as I look at different lines here, IBM.com has a reputation of 4. There was a refresh, looks like some Google.com got hit, and that could be another computer on my network, or yeah, it looks like one of the computers upstairs hit. Google at the same time has a reputation of 1. Everybody, all of the different WatchGuard users out there have scanned this. This is something that we are hitting quite often, so we see these have got low reputation scores. And as we scan through here, everything is below 10. So we know, based on this, that we really don't need to do the virus scanning on our IBM.com webpage. Now, many of you are probably familiar with the ICAR test virus. Out there on the ICAR website, eicar.org, they have a malware test file. And I want to illustrate what the reputation-enabled defense will do for us by downloading this malware test file. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to limit my logging of what I'm showing to just my individual computer, so we're not seeing all of the other computers active on the network right now. And so let's go and let's find this download test file. When we get in here, the one I like to use is this icar.com.txt. It is a file that has been set up and known. It's known to all of the virus engines out there as it's really a harmless file, but it's meant to trigger your virus scanner. So I try and download the .txt version, just to show, hey, somebody renamed the extension on a file. They're still not going to get past this. So when I hit this site, right off the bat, we're going to get virus matched signature name ICAR test. So right away, my firewall knows this is a bad file. If we get in here, we look at this line on my traffic monitor, I see right away HTTP virus found. We don't need to worry about anything else. It's getting caught, it's being done. Now, every time, because I am sending feedback to WatchGuard, every time this virus gets detected, that's going to be a strike against this web page that we see. Now, we don't immediately jump a web page where something malicious is detected, we don't immediately jump them out to 100 because you never know, there could be a false positive. But if we try and hit this file several times, and I'm just going to kind of go back and forth here until I get the thing. We've done another hit. There's a few more hits against it. We keep trying here. Each time, just keep an eye on this reason here, virus matched signature. And eventually, as I start doing this, this is pushing that reputation higher and higher to that bad end. And with just a few more here, in fact, just that one, right away, I'm now getting blocked reason reputation. And let me come over here and pause my traffic monitor. You'll notice we got several virus found through all of these different lines. Watching my traffic, it wasn't letting this through. But the last time we're blocked in here, we're actually seeing in our logs, HTTP proxy deny, HTTP bad reputation. There have been enough scan results that everybody, we're seeing other WatchGuard users. If this was, if we had other WatchGuard engineers out there doing this at the same time, it might have happened a little faster. But after just a few hits, it was enough to push that website into the bad range where now I'm saving the cycles on my firewall. I no longer need to run my virus scanner because everybody else has. And we're getting this reputation block as opposed to worrying and waiting for the virus definitions to kick in. Now, there's a tweak that I like to make on my firewalls as I run through this. And in here, inside the thresholds, by default, they're at 90 and 10. I really like to change mine to 80 and 20. Basically, what this is doing is, if we go back to our number line here, where we say, not that one, this one, if we say anything with a score of 90 or higher, we're going to block. Well, if we change our bad reputation to 80 or higher, we're blocking those files that much sooner. The other thing that the reputation-enabled defense system does is, as a website or a component or a piece of a website, after they've hit that high-end reputation, it immediately tries to start normalizing itself, either on the good side or the bad side. Everything tries to return to a 50. So eventually it is going to say, hey, we need to virus scan that again, check it again. Oh, no, whoops, we found a virus. Let's put a mark against it. We push our reputation back higher again. With a reputation score on the top end, if we're saying if we block it, if it gets to 80 or higher, we're blocking it sooner. We're also leaving it blocked for that much longer. If their reputation score gets to 100, it's going to start normalizing and trying to start back to 50 after a little while. And once it gets back to 90, again, we're doing our checks and treating it anything from 50, anything from really 11 all the way up to 90, we're treating as normal traffic, and we want to run our full scans against it. So by putting our thresholds at 80 and 20, we're trusting the good sites for that much longer. If they haven't been scanned recently, we're going to continue to trust them, and the websites don't fall out of our range here until they get to 21. Same thing on the bad end. If something gets to 80, we're going to just say that much longer. We're going to keep blocking you before we start trying to virus scan you again. So, the way I explain it to a lot of people is, hey, we'll let everybody else in this world scan it between 80 and 90 and let them do the work for us. We're saving that many more cycles on our blocks. So again, I just wanted to illustrate real quickly how the reputation-enabled defense works. This is one of those lesser used, maybe lesser known features on the WatchGuard firewall, but it does give us a way to look up and use the power of everybody else. Use the power of the cloud, if you want to use the buzzwords, that everybody else is doing the scanning and reporting these results back. This is a proprietary service to WatchGuard. You're not going to get this. This service is not available on other firewalls out there. There are a few things like IronPort that also do a similar service. And you can actually go, if you're on the email side, if you really do want to do a lookup, you can get out to do some lookups. Now this is, again, reputationauthority.org, this is strictly for email only. This is not showing you the results of web pages, but this is showing, this is the spam side of our database. It's helpful to just illustrate what we're looking at, though, and I like showing this example of IBM.com. This looks at every IP address out there that is claiming to be IBM.com, and let me just make that a little bigger so we're seeing that in the middle of the screen. All of these different IP addresses are claiming to be IBM.com. They've got good reputations. They're in our green here. If we go to the far end of this, we look at all of these other places, and we can see these other websites that are claiming to be IBM.com. But here's one that I believe TR is Turkey. They're sending email claiming to be IBM.com. But we can see, hey, they're on the borderware blacklists. We can actually see their reputation score, 0 good, 100% bad. This IP address has sent a high ratio of spam. So we can actually look and see what they're doing, where it's coming from, even though it claims to be IBM.com. I don't know if IBM actually has an office in Istanbul or not. So again, keep in mind the Reputation Authority website does look up just the mail side of the database. There is no real interface for the website of the database, other than if you really want to see what something gets scored at with a reputation, you can come in here and go to that website and look at, here we go, we see that as we went and pushed those different viruses through, you'll notice in here this reputation gradually climbed. We started out 71, 72. As we detected more and more viruses, it got higher and higher until we finally blocked it based on the reputation. So it's a poor man's lookup, but you can do the lookup that way. So once again, thank you for your attendance today. This one's been a little bit quicker. Last time we ran overtime, so this time we're a little bit under to give you a few minutes of your lunch back. Thank you very much for your attendance. If you do have any questions, please make sure you type them in the text box. We will be following up and answering those. The webinar is being recorded, so if you want to review this again at some later time, you can do that. We will send out a link with that webinar available. And with that, I will turn things back over to Elaine.